Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO. I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in.
Hello, friend. How are you? I hope you're doing great. Here we are at the end of yet another year. For us, our fall semester is coming to an end and Christmas is coming, a new year is dawning. I certainly hope you are feeling all the feels of this joyful time of year and spending even more time with those you love. I've been listening to a book called The 4-8 Principle. The author is a gentleman by the name of Tommy Newberry. And I think this book was put out maybe like in 2010 or 2011. But what I really liked about it is that it's a book that suggests that we live our lives according to Philippians 4:8. That's why it's called the 4-8 Principle. The book was recommended in a business coaching call that I was on, but I'm almost done with it. And I would say it's a great book and principle to live by in all aspects of our life. He doesn't just focus on business. Our relationships at home and in our marriages, how we raise our children, how we homeschool, you name it. In summary, if we dwell on the things that are true and noble and just and pure and lovely and of good report and are virtuous and praiseworthy, we'll be left feeling more positive. And with positivity comes peacefulness. And that's what Philippians 4:8 is all about. He had this quote in there that I really loved. And he said, when we can show up joyfully, dwelling on all those joyful things, we have an opportunity to bless others. So we want to fill our heads and our hearts and our lives with joyfulness, those things that are true, noble, just, pure, and lovely. Now, for me, I will tell you, people are the key ingredient for joyfulness. Sharing life with my family and with my friends, even with friendly strangers, is the way I fill my cup. I think making time to spend together, to get together, to catch up, to listen in to what's going on in someone else's life and to ask them questions, to celebrate their wins in all the things and to be sad when they're sad, not trying to change how they're feeling, but to just be present with them is to connect in a way that they leave feeling supported and loved. And that's pretty joyful. I want you right now to think of someone that you feel close to. Could be a family member, it could be a friend. Now, would you go years and years and years without talking to them? And if you did, would you feel connected to them any longer? Probably not. My guess is whoever you thought of is somebody you've spoken to recently, even if it was in a text message or a quick call, or maybe it was a hug in the morning. Who came to mind? And how much time are you spending with them? Because the more time you're spending with them, it's likely the closer you're feeling to them. If you knew that a friend was struggling, would you ignore their struggles or avoid asking how they're doing? Most of us would not. Now, I will say there have been times that I've been surprised, like when my friend Kelly was going through cancer, we have a large group of friends, and I was surprised that there were several really good friends that never checked in on her. Kind of surprised me. She was struggling, and I don't think they were ignoring her, but I do think sometimes people may feel that they're inadequate. They don't know what to say, or they don't want to be a downer, so they're just not gonna reach out. But when you do that, do you feel close to those people? Kelly didn't. Kelly did not feel close to those people who were not reaching out. Even if it felt like an awkward conversation and somebody reached out to her and said, I don't even know what to say to you. I just want you to know I'm thinking about you. That drew them closer together. Sometimes you can't fix the things, but we can still have the connection. And I think that all the healthy relationships in our lives do require intentional effort. I know that people who ignore their marriages often have failed marriages. I've seen family members who no longer speak to one another tend to be forgotten. I think of even like plants in my house that I've neglected, they wither away if they're not getting what they need. I just think that connection is really important. We need that connection to build everlasting friendships. Now, I'm going to take a little twist and a little turn in this week's episode because while you may be thinking I'm going to talk about how to build stronger, better friendships with other people, I'm actually not. What I want to talk about was something that dawned on me when I was journaling earlier this week. I was realizing as I was journaling, because I'm always thinking in analogies, my brain just goes to analogies. I love analogies. And I realized that journaling is my way of staying in touch with me. It's how I'm building an everlasting friendship with myself. Now, that may sound really odd, but stay with me. Did you know that you are supposed to love yourself? You actually are. And yet sometimes we love ourselves the least. At least I believe we're supposed to love ourselves. I want to see, can you finish a very well known principle? Love your neighbor as yourself. In other words, if we don't love and value the creation that we are, then we would be showing up and berating all of those neighbors and anyone else in our path because we're berating ourselves. So it says we must love ourselves first because we were created on purpose and with purpose. When we realize that and appreciate that in us, then that is how we are to treat others with love. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's not berate your neighbor as yourself. It's not condemn your neighbor as yourself. And it's certainly not ignore your neighbor as yourself. So I want to talk about ways to build an everlasting friendship with you yourself. And you know how we're going to get there, don't you? It's all going to start with journaling. Yes, I'm coming back to journaling because journaling's amazing. It fosters so many wonderful things. There's deep self connection, there's this space where we can actively listen to our inner voice. And it's a spot where we can practice unconditional acceptance despite our flaws because we are all flawed. I just had dinner with one of my besties, and she was sharing about a recent family episode that had her feeling deeply embarrassed. And no, I am not going to tell you what happened. I'm just going to say he had thought she was sending a single text to one family member, but in fact, it went to the whole family group text thread. And it was not the kindest, most charming sentence she could have said. Oh my goodness. Can you imagine how embarrassing that could be? But it's such a human thing to do. So at dinner, she's telling me the whole story, and we were able to laugh about it at dinner, but I could still see the shame that she had there. And it really was taking some time for her to be able to get to the point that she could laugh about it. She had to slice up a big old piece of humble pie and go talk to that person and apologize to that person and, take responsibility for her action, all of that. And I guarantee she was harder on herself than she would have been had I been the one who had the same experience. I know her so well. We've been friends for like 35 years. She would have said to me, oh my gosh, Melissa, those things happen. Don't beat yourself up. And yet here she was beating herself up. Now, journaling gives you that opportunity to get that out, write it out. You're going to just hate having to do it. There's that embarrassing feeling of shame or guilt that fits in there. But it's that unconditional acceptance that when you see it on paper, you can step back a little bit and say, there I am being human. Now, again, I know I've spoken about journaling, I don't know, a million times. That's a good hyperbole, right? But I just don't think I can emphasize its importance enough. While you may have started journaling once, twice, maybe 100 times, sometimes a little nudge like this is just what you need to pick it back up and start again. Because that is so normal. It is more normal that somebody starts 5 new journals in a year and never finishes one than a person who starts one journal, fills every page, and never skips a day. That's just not practical. So begin by believing there is nothing wrong if you're going to pick up a journal that you had put down, but you're ready to start again. And I'm going to give you in this episode 5 ways to build that everlasting friendship because it's a very important one. When you feel good about you, you can show up joyfully for others. And then we can live that 4-8 principle. So let me tell you, number one, and like I said, there are 5. Did I tell you there are 5? I think I mentioned that there are 5. 5 ways to write that are really going to make a difference. So number one, this is one option. You can write to improve your mental clarity. So sometimes I write just to help organize my thoughts or organize my emotions. This could be so practical. You could just make lists of things you want to get done, whether that's just physical things around the house you need to get done, or maybe it's mental, emotional things or spiritual things. And then you just kind of cross things off as you go, but making sure that you high five yourself or even wink at your reflection, which does feel really weird. I have done that. I don't know. Have you read or watched anything from Mel Robbins? She's got so much on that. Go check her out. I love her. I think she's fantastic. The second thing that you can be doing with your writing that's going to build that everlasting personal friendship is to practice your self-awareness skills. So journaling is an opportunity to reflect on patterns you're seeing, choices you're making. It could even be desires that you have in your heart, goals, things like that. I think journaling is a great place to write down a circumstance, something that's occurring for you right now, whatever it is, and get curious about it. Write down, what are you thinking about it? How are you feeling about it? And what are you doing about it? This awareness is so eye-opening. So one, just write for mental clarity and organization, or 2, start to really become aware of what it is you are thinking, feeling, and doing in regards to certain circumstances. The third thing that you can use your journaling to write is to regulate emotions. You can put any struggles that you're having on paper. And if you're like, but I don't want anybody to read what I'm struggling with, you can tear it out, rip it into a million pieces, throw it in the fireplace, or put it in the trash. You don't have to keep it in existence if you don't want to. It still is important to get your struggles out of your mind where they zoom round and round and round, and it feels like they're in there 1,000 times a day. It's just probably 1 or 2 thoughts, but they're just on replay, replay, replay. Get it out onto paper, and you will be amazed at how quickly it regulates your emotions. You can vent, and when you do that, reduces overwhelm. And again, there's science that backs this up. It's also great once you've done that, you can begin to kind of foster the beginnings of some problem solving options that will come to mind because you've let go of some of the emotions that you're really struggling with. Maybe there are emotions of jealousy or frustration. Get them out. All right. The fourth reason you could choose to write, and again, you can do all of these at any one time. I would never take a journal necessarily and say, this is my journal only for this. My journal has all kinds of things. It's got business ideas, it has personal goals, it has home improvement, things I'm trying to get done, and right, that mental clarity. This is what I have to do before I can do this. A little bit of everything. Okay. But on in the fourth option, writing to practice loving yourself better. Now, this is a really important one because I talk to far too many women who really struggle with loving themselves. They love other people far more easily than they love themselves. They carry guilt or shame, and there is a difference. The best way it was explained to me, guilt is something on the outside that you may feel guilty because your hand was caught in the cookie jar. Think of it like that. Somebody catches you and they're like, "Are you taking a cookie? You said you weren't going to eat sweets." Right? And so you're guilty. But shame is different. Shame is silent and it's on the inside. You could be feeling shame for decisions you made that nobody else has ever known about, and that's deeper. It's important that you work through those things by writing out your thoughts around the guilt, around the shame in a quiet, safe space, and work to forgive yourself. With time, you really can celebrate the growth that you will see by practicing forgiveness in your journal. Again, so many people will say, but I don't want to write that down. I'm afraid somebody else is going to see it. Destroy it once it's done. It doesn't hurt to get rid of it. It doesn't negate the fact that you took the time to write it out. That's still valuable use of time. All right. The fifth one is to write simply to build that joyful muscle. A journal filled with gratitude, going back to that Philippians 4:8 verse. So when you grab your journal, you can just write about certain things that you feel are true and noble and just and pure and lovely, of good report, and are virtuous and are maybe praiseworthy. You can fill it with all of those good things. That will make you feel full of joy and that your cup is full. Okay. So I want you just to be thinking about this because journaling is a great way to build your very healthy and everlasting friendship with you, yourself. So whether you write to improve mental clarity, or you write to practice self-awareness, or you write to regulate your emotions, or you write to practice loving yourself better, or you simply write to build that joyful muscle. Any and all of these will make a positive impact in your life. And I will tell you, I'm sure you agree, those sour-faced, complaining, negative people, we all know some of them, they are not fun to be around. They are draining. We don't want to be those kinds of people. Joyful people are happier people, and they spread joy for others to also enjoy. Your relationship with yourself is the foundation of every other relationship in your life. If you're not feeling joyful with you, it's difficult to be joyful for others. If you care for others, it's important that you care for yourself as well. You are here on earth in this moment in time on purpose. It's not an accident. I do not believe that. It's not a coincidence. It's not even a coincidence that you're listening to this right now. You're meant to hear this. I don't know why. All I know is that you were wonderfully and fearfully made, and I really want you to love yourself. It's probably time to get a new pen and a new journal for 2025. What do you think? I believe it is. Right on.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing, freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.